government has described you leaving as a great loss. The statement also sounded rather surprised by the fact that you had decided to leave. How long have you been thinking about it?
Yes, no, my contract was still left to proceed up to 2020 in the department, but it was just a case really of an opportunity which presented itself to me. I was still wanting to stay in the public service, so when that opportunity was there to grab it with both of my hands, so that's why now I'm leaving the public service.
I want to accept fully what you're saying as it is, but of course, history suggests that it hasn't been the best of times at Home Affairs in the last 2 years or so, and whether we look at the Gupta naturalization issue, whether we look at the minister terminating or firing you from the department last year, during any of those incidents, did you not think about resigning at all?
No, you will recall that after the Minister Mkuseli left the department, I still served 2 ministers. I served Minister Dlodlo, and then after that I served Minister Gigaba. So I've been comfortable in the department. So, and remember now that incident, if you count now months, it's about 9 months ago when that incident happened. So if I wanted to leave the department, I would have left during that time, but because I was still focusing in the department, I was comfortable about it. Let's come to the issue of Guptas. The Department of Home Affairs said it deals with anyone in the country. So surely in the process, there will be things which we'll be doing, but our work is more guided by legislation. But if there's been a mistake which has happened, that's why we stand there and said, if there's a mistake which we have done, we'll accept it, but as long as it was not based on doing things outside the processes. I still stand firm that when we dealt with that matter, we followed what was in the legislation. The only thing which we were upfront about it, which you said we never done it, was to go and verify. If now somebody said, I've given this and that were on record. That's what we said. So I think with that process, it wouldn't make me to run away. Otherwise, if I've done that, I wouldn't be in Home Affairs. We remember now that I have a first 5 years in Home Affairs, which I finished, and then I was in close again to my second 5 years. With all those years, there were various challenges in the Department of Home Affairs, but I sat there, I continued, I had a hope that we'll be able to build a department which will provide services better to our people, which I think we have turned that corner.
And how would you describe your time at Home Affairs?
Yes. Well, I joined the Department of Home Affairs first as a Chief Financial Officer in 2009, joining then the Minister Zuma. And then really at that time, the biggest challenge of the Department of Home Affairs, despite the issues of it's what's supposed to deliver. But on the financial side, we're sitting, with about 2 billion of unauthorized expenditure. We're sitting with disclaimers. Then the view of the minister was that the department must be balanced. It must be deliver on its mandate, but it must also manage its finances better. So I was recruited as a Chief Financial Officer, but as early now as 1st of April, opportunity again like the one has presented itself now, presented itself for me to take over as a Director General. I think the advantage which I had was that I had about 6 months in the department as a Chief Financial Officer. So when I took over in 1st of April 2010, I had a balance of what issues were. But what was the strategy for us was to say the Department of Home Affairs, as that minister described Home Affairs, that it deals with everyone from cradle up to death. So the question which we have to ponder ourselves to was how do we think we can be able to change the department, which was more on paper. Then the answer for us was that modernize. Technology will help us because it will improve efficiencies, it will make sure that we reduce the issues of corruption, it will improve our financial management and all that. So that was the driving force which we had. So I can say with those issues we have tried to move things, but we're still at a fragile stage as a department. We're not saying we have solve every problem. So the team which is there, I believe in it, more especially under the guidance of the Minister Gigaba or any other minister, they will be able to take the baton and go forward.
Did you at all anticipate the kind of political rumblings that we had in the past couple of years and how they would then impact on your role as the DG and even your personal life?
Yes. Well, it's something which today, when we're in the media briefing, I said one of the things which I've learned from the Minister Gigaba was that ability of understanding the different roles of a Director General and as well of a political head, because a Director General is, my work has been cut up in terms of the Public Finance Management Act and as well as the acts of the department, because it clearly defines what are my responsibilities. So to work with the ministers who are able to understand that, it creates a conducive environment for a Director General to operate. However, you still need, as a Director General, to have a listening ear and as well as an approach, so that if I go to the minister, I'm not going there and throw a Public Finance Management Act in the face of the minister. But what I'm saying is that based on these responsibilities and what the Act says, this is the way which you can do. If the minister gives a guidance, I have to listen and take it and go and implement and come back.
So at which point then, why would it be wrong to throw the PFMA in the minister's face and say, but these are the rules and the regulations?
Yes, maybe in me, I was also a diplomat, as you know that I work for DICO by now. I think in any relationship, how you handle your relationship is very important. I can be able to say the same thing to you, but if I'm approaching you with that idea that I've got an authority and then I instruct and I'm that, then even with your high level or even with your lower level staff, then we're going to get a problem. But when you approach it, even on other side, I also said we've got a responsibility even of teaching, to say, look, why you have to do this thing in this manner, not in the other manner, is because of A, B, C, D, E. And then we've got also a support, whether in a particular way of Auditor General. Maybe I sit with the minister on a particular matter, and I said, no, this is not the right way of doing it. Auditor General comes in when they audit and say, hey, man, we have done well here because we didn't do what was wrong. Then it helps now that minister now to understand, okay, it's not that this fellow is blocking me on anything, but is able to make that the department must operate in a manner that it must show a good corporate governance.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for tonight. We certainly wish you all of the very best in the new role that you'll be taking on in the private sector. And after your final day, hopefully, we'll get you back into studio again, because I think there's much more that you would be open to talking about once you've left the building at Home Affairs, the outgoing Home Affairs Director General, Mkuseli Apleni.